You're deafened by the din of the world, and you're dazzled by the glitter of the world, and you're deceived by the attraction of the world. And you hear the hiss of the serpent in your ear to tell you this is all right. There's nothing to worry about. You don't believe all that old fogey, old-fashioned stuff that Cairns and his like will talk to you about. Men and women, I want you to understand tonight, the voice from heaven bids you hearken to the voices from hell. There are people of your age who lived and died and went to hell. I have personally labored one-on-one with people to see them saved, only to see them slip out into eternity, still in their rebellion against God. Hell is real. Hell is real. That's the message. The voices from hell not only speak of its reality, but they warn of the danger of going to hell. Here we read Asshur was there, Elam was there, Meshach and Tubal were there. And while these names may not register much with you today, these were names that were the superpowers of their day. But they perished. And you see, the first thing you've got to recognize here is they learned too late that with greatness comes great responsibility. And from the voices from hell, that's a message for America that this nation must learn. This is a great nation. It has been said, quite accurately, that it is the world's sole remaining superpower. It's a uniquely prosperous nation. It's a uniquely industrious nation. I am not American by birth, but I can certainly honestly say that by human standards, no nation can stand taller or hold itself more erect. And that's not to overlook its sins and its failures, but it is to say in an imperfect world, this is a great nation. But it is a nation that's battling for its soul. It's a nation that is officially, and by officially I mean by decree of those elected to govern, and the judiciary that is in place to oversee that government. It is a nation officially at war with God. Sometimes when you're living in a nation, you don't really keep up with what is going on. You're so much taken up with the sound bites of the television reporter. You're so much taken up with the political intrigue of getting this or that policy through or stopped, as the case may be, that you fail to recognize what has happened. Not only to America, just as much to Britain, maybe even worse there at times. But a nation that is officially at war with God. There's a great responsibility that lies on a great nation. And from the depths of hell there come voices of other superpowers in their day that failed to match the greatness of their position, of their possessions, of their power, the greatness of the advantages that God conferred upon them, with corresponding greatness in their attachment to spiritual right. Those voices from hell will testify that no nation, however great and powerful, can long survive without God. Asshur and all the others were proofs of this and could bear witness. We have read this passage tonight to find that they were guilty of many sins. Verse 25, they have borne their shame. They were nations, drowning in shameful sin, and they cared not. But verse 30 says, they shall bear their shame with them that go down to the pit. In verse 27 we read, they have laid their swords under their heads. That means simply they died unconquered and unbowed, something of a natural death. But their iniquity shall be upon their bones. I want you to get a picture here. Here were superpowers. They were rich and powerful, but for a time they appeared to thwart the very plan of God. They could exist without God. They gave themselves to lust and shameful and wicked things. Men and women, let me make you understand this, that all that sowing had to have a terrible day of reaping. And if there is one thing we need to recognize today, in the midst of all the prosperity that America has generated, and there has never been in the history of the world a more successful or more prosperous nation, in the midst of all the undoubted greatness that this country has achieved, in the midst of all the wonderful things that this nation has brought about and with which it has blessed its people and indeed the world, this country officially declaring itself, it says neutral, but the reality is without God, has sunk into shame. Shame of unmentionable descriptions and proportions. Shame. We had such a tidal wave of wickedness and sin and perversion. We have got to the place where the sins of this nation are so blatantly filthy that the old-fashioned wickedness, and I'm not excusing it, by the way, it is still vile and filthy, but the old-fashioned wickedness of immorality and prostitution seem almost straight by comparison. We're living in an evil age. Shameful, shameful things. God says their iniquity will be upon their bones. Their iniquity will bring them down to the pit. No nation can survive long without God. America rose quickly to become what it is. I don't think the America that many Christians look at, looking back through history with rose-tinted spectacles, the America that was always practically the land of the saints on earth, ever existed. No such nation existed. But this nation was uniquely great because it was uniquely visited of God. Tonight, it is weltering in shame and lust and filth and wickedness. There's something wrong when the purported right of free speech or the purported right of privacy takes precedence over everything godly and decent. When people can hide behind such concepts to cover up murder. We have now had 47 million babies brutalized and murdered by official decree in America.